Hi everyone, and welcome to our exploration of how to make school excursions successful and less painful. In our promo video, we highlighted that excursions expose four main issues for schools. And quickly to recap those, the need to be using the most up-to-date and accurate data, the fact that excursions are major logistical exercises that become really time-consuming for our key staff. Then there's the need to complete the risk component of all excursions professionally. And finally, the need to coordinate and communicate with all of these sections of our school community. As you know, my name's Sam Spupo and I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at EdSmart. Joining me is EdSmart's Business Development Executive, Jess Bowler.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Today, we're going to show you how EdSmart's forms technology can enable you to build and manage a successful excursion. And in all honesty, just make the process so much simpler. We will have a Q&A session, so please jot down your questions. You can enter those by accessing the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. So what are we dealing with when we talk about school excursions? Setting up an excursion can be overwhelming with the number of forms that are involved, the number of approval steps, and the time it takes to get each task ticked off to complete the entire process, let alone managing and ensuring the safety of 100 children in an uncontained environment. We want you to focus on facilitating educational experiences for your students and not let the background work dominate your staff's time. So let's agree on two things. Firstly, an excursion is a process and not an event. And second, managing excursions is a distributed problem. What we're here to do is show you how EdSmart can support your process and let you focus on facilitating those educational experiences for your students. So Sam, in your experience, how do schools tackle excursions?
Yeah, look, for those of us who have built an excursion process and managed them in schools, they end up being this large series of forms and instructions. But when we break it down into components, we can see that there's really four main things occurring. Firstly, there's a series of instructions to staff, school policies and expectations, a checklist of tasks to be ticked off, forms needing to be filled out, and approvals and workflows to be managed.
Well, if that's the case, then obviously there's a large number of people involved, which then adds a further complication to the excursion process. In our dealings with schools, these are the common types of people involved. So staff members, so the excursion creator, the students, the daily organiser, the approvers, the accounts department, the medical health centre, the front office staff, parents, and all other staff. So Sam, you mentioned previously that there are a large number of forms in the excursion process. So what are the typical forms used?
Yeah, look, every school does this a little differently, but in essence, the three main and typical forms most schools use are an application for an excursion and activity, a risk assessment form, and then there's the parent permission form. But we sort of know that there's a lot of other forms involved that are around the periphery. Things like the expense reimbursement form, the resource booking form for rooms, buses, venues, etc. You've got your staff absence and replacement forms. You've got incident forms. You've got communication logs, and you've got reflection and improvement forms. So if we've got all these forms with workflows and tasks and staff involved in this excursion process, what we at EdSmart are trying to do is to make technology help you with this distributed problem.
So first and foremost, just to reiterate, we want our schools to create educationally sound excursions, and technology should help you with the following: complete forms, collect data, research and make decisions, inform and communicate with others, approvals, book and allocate resources, collate responses and action them, and oversee the process to ensure compliance.
So, as you can see, with a lot of these moving parts and the busyness of a school and staff involved, there is room for things to go wrong and staff to be stressed.
So why not let technology do the heavy lifting and let staff do the intelligent work? EdSmart enables you to digitise your paper-based forms and streamline the entire excursion process. You can create standardised templates with the information you need, including option lists, long description boxes, mandatory fields, location maps, attachments, and even payments. The system allows you to set up approval workflows with no limit to the number. It allows for reviews and sending back for corrections if required. You can send out forms to multiple contacts, user groups, and class lists. The system enables you to track information when forms are being sent via the dashboard, so you can track the delivery and opening of messages, the downloading of the attachments, and set reminders to be scheduled to go out to those that are lagging in the process. And all of this is in real time. So by using EdSmart, you have the ability to save and track all the information in one place. Sounds pretty good, right? So through a series of videos, Sam is going to show you how you can use our process module to build an end-to-end excursion process.
So what does an excursion process look like? I always prefer to show people an overview first so you get a full sense of its functionality, and then we'll step back and look at how to actually build it step by step very quickly. First thing you need to know is that we didn't want to add work to everyone having had you already built templates. So we built this process module on the back of you having built templates already. And what we then tried to do was to make it more efficient. One, by enabling you to link templates together, and then being able to trigger one template to another, and then being able to configure some of the data from one form to another, ensuring that staff and yourselves don't ever have to complete the same field on a form in a process ever again. And we know that that's something staff would like to do. So once we've done all of those things, the process module takes over all the decision making. Let's have a look. For example, in our form templates, if I go to our process module categories, and you can see I've got a series of templates here. Every template, for those of you that aren't EdSmart customers and want to know the basis of our program, a lot of the secret is around this template building. The design of the template, which enables you to build fields on a template and therefore on a form that a staff member or a parent fills out. But then you can attach a workflow to that particular form. And that might be approvals. It might actually be sending it to another staff member to fill out some more information as it works its way down. So every template has its own fields and it has its own workflow. And if for the process module's intent, these are completed already. All we want to do is teach the program which templates, in which order, when to trigger, and what to configure. So again, taking the idea of having an overview, let's go to the process templates, and I'm going to choose this one here that's already completed fully so that you get a sense of what it looks like before I show you how to build a little component of it. You can see here every process has a name. It has a couple of different areas. It enables me to save it along the way if I want to. It enables me to choose here the template that I want to work with. It enables me to put it into a grid. I can add forms sequentially, or I can add forms concurrently so that they're completed. Each form, though, has a relationship with another form. And in this case here, it's triggered by the application for the excursion form. And that form will have some triggers in there that will trigger a risk assessment form if necessary, or trigger a bus booking if necessary, or a daily organiser if necessary, or an expense account. So they're my choices, but you might have a different configuration for that. And then the risk assessment form triggers the parent permission form. We have a number of schools who are happy to trigger the parent permission and the risk assessment at the same time. So in that case, you would have the form up here on this level. But equally, we've got other schools who don't allow a staff member to send off the parent permission slip unless the risk assessment form is completed first. So it enables you to put some sort of compliance and logic into your flow. Between each form, we have these new additions called connectors. And if we see, each connector has two particular abilities. One is to set triggers. And in this case here, the application form to the risk assessment form, I have a trigger that says when this field value on the application form, and the field value is, does this activity have any risks? And if the answer is yes, it's going to trigger the risk assessment form, and it's going to send the form to that person immediately after the workflow has been completed. So I can also choose a number of days if required, but generally most schools like to use the immediately. I can add more triggers if I like, so you can make it a little bit more complicated depending on your logic for having a form created or not created. Remembering, if I'm a staff member and I answer, no, there's no risk in this excursion because I'm taking my class to the library, which is next door, then it won't trigger a risk assessment form along the way. And the person who's checking on the compliance will be able to see and make that determination also if that's correct. Then we have the configuration of data, and this enables us to choose a field that's in the risk application form and copy it across to the risk assessment form, and I can update the form. And that continues to work its way through the particular flow.
So you can see from Sam's overview, the program allows you to use your current templates and workflows. Also, how easy it is to link your templates into a process of your own design. One thing Sam didn't mention was that you can also clone processes and make adjustments at any time. Now let's have a look at how easy it is to build a process.
So how easy is it to build this excursion process template? Of course, I'm going to say easy and very straightforward, and I hope in a few moments you'll agree with me. So if we go to the form process area and we're going to build the template, in this case here, you can see that this is the template that I showed you before, which had everything completed in it, the templates and the connectors. I'm going to choose this one today, just to save us some time. It has most of the templates attached, and I'm going to attach one more to show you how that all works. So if we go to the design, and in this case here, you can see that in place already is the application form, the risk assessment, bus booking, and excursion accounts expenses. So I'm now wanting to add the parent permission form. As a school, we've decided that it's going to be sequential, so you need to finish the risk assessment form and completed and approved before the parent permission form can be triggered and sent. So I need to choose that. I choose the parent slips because I know it's a parent slip template. I know that it's in my process module templates category area, and if I start typing, it will start to give me some options. And in this case, there it is. It says, is this the one that you want to use? And I say, yes, it is. So I'm going to grab it and just drag it into place, just there. And you can see that it's now got a red connector as opposed to the green ones. And that's just confirming for me that they're connected, but there is no decisions about triggers or data in place yet. So let's go and do that now. There we go. And you can see there are no triggers set. So I'm going to trigger the parent permission form after the risk assessment form. And I've got two options, a field value in the form or a set days after it's completed. And in most cases, it's really the set days after completed, and it's immediately. So I've set the trigger to send the permission form to the teacher to start completing and sending it on its way. I'm going to configure the data. You can see that we've got some already predefined fields that every parent permission form should have: the slip title, the date from, the date to. So I'm going to choose the name of the excursion on the risk assessment form to be the slip title. I'm going to choose the start date to be the date from, and I'm going to choose the end date to be the date to. I also want to add, I'm going to choose, in this case, let's say the staff member attending, and over here we will find the staff members attending field, and so it's going to match those. And I can keep adding those fields all along to complete. I could have the rationale there, I could have the teacher in charge, I could have the uniform that was required, and so forth. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that for the moment. I'm going to update it. You'll notice that it's still red, and it just means that the forms are connected, the data's there. I need to validate that this is all okay and the process will work. So if we go up to save the process template, the program will ask if this is what you want to do. We say, yes, I do. And it's now going away and working out, do you have those fields? Do you have the ability to trigger? And it says, yes, everything is ready to go. So I now have a series of 5 forms that are interconnected in a flow with triggers and data share.
As you can see, having the program use answers in fields across other templates minimises the work for staff, and this was certainly one of our key desires, as was ensuring that all the steps in the process were completing and assisting staff to know what is next. Now let's have a look at how easy it is to start the process and maintain an overview of where it's at.
So let's put our staff hats on, and I want to start an excursion. I've got 2 choices. I can either go straight to the actual excursion process, which my widget allows me to go straight there, or I can go to the process module area and I can say, I want to start a new one. And of course, exactly like we start all our other form processes, it says, which template would you like to use? And in this case, I'm going to choose the excursion process. What it does is it packages up the excursion process and it gives me some information to start setting up the process. Not necessarily the forms, but it allows the user, the staff member, to give the parameters that they want to use. So we're going to call this visit to the EdSmart offices. Sorry, don't type very fast. And then we go to the process timeline. So we're going to start this tomorrow, 9 a.m, and I want the process to be completed by the 28th. And what that means is not that this is when the forms are sent, but this is the boundary around all the forms so that we can keep an eye on the process to ensure it stays within those boundaries. It also gives me the choice of a class to include in the process. Because it's recognised that we've got a parent slip template involved, it knows that you want to send something out to the parents. So it's asking me right now, which students do you want to include in that, and it will package it up. If there are no parent slips involved, you won't see this next range of choices. But we're going to choose the Year 10s because they're going on this excursion, and I don't have any extra students that I want to choose connected. So I go to next. Like all our processes, it will give me a draft to say, please check, is this what you want to do? And of course, here it is. I've got the name, the process, the staff member, and the list of templates that are involved in this process. Depending on which triggers I use, which forms will be used, of course. So I want to start the process. It says, okay, I'm going to send you the application form. Are you ready to go? And I say, yes, please send it to me now. And here is my form. You notice it's already pre-filled with the title, and it's for me. I now want to complete some of this. So the name of the excursion is Visit to EdSmart. And this is the name of the excursion as opposed to the name of the process that we used up here. Because you can change that name specifically to what you might want to be. It might be the Year 10 IT class visit to EdSmart, might be the name of the excursion. The staff responsible is me. For brevity, I'm only going to fill in some of these fields. So let's quickly put in a date for the excursion. It was the 27th. It's going to start at 9 and it's going to finish on the same day, and it's going to finish at 3:30. You can see it's pre-filling some of the things that I put on this form before. I can put a rationale in there if I want, and so forth. I'm going to go down. I'm going to our classes requiring covering. If I say yes, this is my trigger to generate the staff covering form to be sent to the staff member. Does this activity have any risks? I'm going to say yes, it does. There are dangerous people at EdSmart, so I've got to account for those. And that's enough for the time being. And I'll choose no for room required. So a staff member obviously will have filled out quite a number of all of these fields, and you will have been able to make the required fields, of course. But again, for brevity, I'm just completing some minor ones. All right. Once I've completed the form, like all our other processes, it shows me a draft, and it says, is this the answers that you wanted to give? And if I say yes, I'm pretty happy with all of those, then what happens next is that it shows me the workflow that was attached to this template. And I say, yep, I'm pretty happy with all of those. The answers are correct. I'm going to send for approval. Of course, if the answers weren't, I could then click edit the form and then go back and make my changes. So let's send that off for approval. And off it goes to James David, and he'll receive an email and work his way through that approval process. There we go. We can see that it's now in train and ready to go, and it will have triggered some of these other forms. As a staff member, once I've initiated the excursion process and I've sent my application and it's been approved, the program takes over. It will send me emails telling me that forms are available for me to now complete, and I can use the email to click on to take me directly to the form. But also the dashboard here, we've now created widgets that enables the staff member to go and to start not only having an overview, but also interact with the forms as required. So you can see here, my visit to EdSmart offices are ready to go, and I've completed the application form. I have in train the risk assessment, the daily organisation teacher replacement, and my expense form as yellow, and blue are the forms that have not been started yet, haven't been triggered to go. So that gives me an overview. If I'm a deputy and I'm looking at all my processes, because that's what my widget enables me to do, I can see where it is at any stage. And if I want to examine a form, even while it's in process, all I do is click on the actual process, and it will take me to the screen of that process, and it'll allow me to click on a particular form as I like. But let's go back to the dashboard. But a second part of this is to ensure that nothing is missed. Not only is the process tracked, but we've created a my current work. So as Sam, this is my work list, and you can see here that I have some forms, visit to the EdSmart offices, and they're all in draft mode. So all I have to do is click on that form and begin that process, and it will then put it into the approval workflow and completion. And as they're completed, you'll see that they'll be marked as complete. So a staff member can't forget that they've got these forms because they've got the email, they've got the My Current Work, and the Requiring Action widget as well. So that's how easy it is, remembering that these forms now have been pre-filled with information from the previous form. Look, I hope that gives you a real sense of how straightforward and flexible this feature is, because once you've set up the process using your templates and triggers, no steps should be missed. And we need to ensure that compliance for a school needs to be in place, and also staff not having to complete the same question over and over ever again is a real feature. I know that when I was a deputy head, keeping tabs of where each excursion was up to became really time consuming. So that the dashboard we've built is a really handy addition. But typical of us at EdSmart, this isn't just the start. We have a number of new integrations that are coming that you can use to enhance this end-to-end process, including the way to handle payments and support on the risk management paperwork.
So on to new features. So some of you may have already heard about our recent integration with School Easy Pay. This allows schools to set up payments within forms. So things like school fees, excursions, tickets to school plays, and just for fun, ordering the good old Christmas pudding. We also have the EdSmart Staff app. So this, in combination with our process module, allows you to access attendance lists, student contacts, health and medical information whilst on excursions and activities. It even has an offline facility which allows you to access this important information when not connected to the internet. Comply Space. So coming very soon for those of you who have Comply Space, we will be rolling out an integration that will enable you to use a Comply Space template within EdSmart, making valuable use of their risk profile, minimisation strategies and reports. We all know how important the risk assessment component is and how staff don't always know how best deal with it. Having the expertise of Comply Space and their predetermined excursion profiles makes this a major advantage. So for those interested in learning more, we are looking for EdSmart and Comply Space customers who would like to see the package in action. For EdSmart schools, if you're interested in the Comply Space component, please do let us know. And also, Comply Space have actually offered a special end of financial year incentive to current EdSmart customers, but we'll send out the information following on from this.
Yeah. In closing this instructional part of the webinar, it's been a real pleasure to show you our work and how EdSmart can help you set up this excursion process end to end to help you manage excursions and helping them run efficiently. We hope our EdSmart customers, schools, got a deeper look at how they can use this process module to build this end-to-end excursion process. Over the next few months, we're going to be offering health checks, as we do every year, to help you assess your use and to give you some advice on how to continue to get that extra value from our platform. So take up the offer when we give you a call. Remembering also that the EdSmart Success team is here to help you make the most of your platform. So don't hesitate to get into contact with us at any time.
And for those of you who are new to EdSmart, we hope that this has given you a taste of what EdSmart can do and the differences it could make in your school. Given this is only a small piece of the EdSmart functionality, we would love the opportunity to show you more. So we will be in touch to start you on your journey of discovery.